The Manafort indictment here in New York has sent shockwaves across Donald Trump's inner circle. Paul Manafort was charged in New York State on something that might sound narrow. Mortgage fraud, conspiracy, and falsifying records is all part of that. Manhattan DA Cy Vance said very clearly in this announcement, quote, "No one is beyond the law in New York." And that could matter to other people who have never even been charged in the first place, because the Trump Organization has faced investigations for a range of activity, beginning with Michael Cohen's hush money payments, and ending with a whole lot of other things that are still sparking all kinds of questions for the people who've worked for that Trump Organization. I want to bring in Wall Street Journal's Shelby Holliday, who has reported on the Russia probe, and MSNBC contributor Mike Lupica. Good day to both of you. We've done so much law throughout this whole first part of the show. I turn to you not on the law, but on the bigger picture. This is one of those days where it's hard to even imagine it happening to any other president, save for maybe Nixon. But this is the President of the United States. This was the #1 guy in his campaign. This is 7.5 years, and before the door even shuts, if it were a movie, he's getting hit with new charges in New York. We just heard from a prosecutor's friend in New York here, colleague and friend, who says they're not messing around.
You know, Ari, I was thinking today with Flynn and Manafort and everything that is happening, okay, where do they find these people? Where do they find these people? You know, once we wrote books about government in this country called The Best and the Brightest. These are like...
Although David Halberstam was speaking sarcastically, was he not?
This is a level of hucksterism and grifterism, the likes of which I don't think we've ever seen. This is like something out of old New York City. Tammany Hall politics.
Do you think over the long run, people in the United States, some follow the news closely, some don't? Some look at it as a team sport and everything is red-blue. Some don't. Do you think the cumulative effect here is to convince people that Donald Trump, at a minimum, has made very poor decisions about who he's hired?
Yeah, I mean, at a minimum, okay? And that is why there are a couple larger issues for me today. One is, it's going to take generations for any kind of luster to be restored to the office of the President of the United States. This is not going to be fixed by one election, because I think it's been diminished, not just here, but around the world.
And you're saying something very serious that sometimes gets lost, which is why we wanted to turn away from every statute and double jeopardy and say, you're talking about what it means, just what we know now. Let's say Donald Trump is cleared of any other wrongdoing. Just what we know about this, the number of people, his lawyer and fixer, this campaign chair, what they've been up to.
It's seamy and it's seedy. And we were talking about it before we came on today. That is why what Judge Amy Berman Jackson said today, I actually thought was encouraging. She was an American today. She wasn't just a sentencing judge. When she talked about this courtroom being a place where facts still matter, to me, it sounds highfalutin. She was speaking for all of us.
Another thing I really thought was interesting is she said it's not particularly persuasive to argue that an investigation hasn't found anything when you have lied to the investigators.
Right.
She's calling Manafort out for lying to prosecutors and say, you know, she warned them, don't say no collusion. This didn't have anything to do with collusion. They went out and did it anyways. But I thought that one line was so interesting.
And how does that relate to...
We have no idea what
How does that relate to the Trump Organization in New York, where you have Ivanka Trump and Donald Trump Jr., who's faced the Congress, and Eric Trump, and of course the president, all these individuals? If we're getting into New York investigations, Shelby, what does that mean for them?
That could be very bad for them, and that's one reason why people think the president is so easy, because his kids could be implicated, his son-in-law. He no longer cares about Michael Cohen, but Michael Cohen went out there and said, hey, guys, I have this huge pile of rocks. There's a lot of dirt under it. And at the time, you know, Republicans said, we don't trust you, we don't believe you, we don't want to look under those rocks. Democrats said, we don't trust you, we don't believe you, we want to look under every rock. It appears as though these investigators in New York and possibly New Jersey and other states looking into Trump and his businesses and his inaugural committee, they want to look under all of the rocks, too, and that's very problematic for the president.
Who would have ever thought, maybe as New Yorkers, we appreciate this, but does anything sound more serious now than Southern District of New York? It's sometimes you feel like
I guess
New York
Manhattan
Attorney
DA
General.
is
right. But seriously, you know, with Robert Mueller and the Southern District, you know, sometimes you actually are allowed to think that the system might actually hold in this country.
Well, that's the part where you put your finger on it and you say, to be continued. Because everyone does get the presumption of innocence, but Paul Manafort lost it. He's a crook. He's a criminal. He's a convict. And that is something that we're processing. And as you both put it, the other models here, Mueller, the judge, the system, the jurors. I should mention, people always say, well, what will people think if they have political proclivities? There was a juror on Manafort's jury who came in wearing a red MAGA hat. And some people said, well, she's not going to be fair. And to her credit, we've covered this earlier, she was fair.
Right.
And she said something that I think is for us to reflect on, and I know both of you will rejoin us on nights like tonight. She said, I didn't want it to be true, but it was, and we have to accept that. And that's where the law and justice and the facts fit in with not just what you want. Briefly.
And no, all right. And the one other thing that Judge Jackson said was, when facts don't matter, democracy can't work.
Mike, Shelby, thanks to both of you. Hey, I'm Ari Melber from MSNBC. You can see more of our videos right here, or better yet, subscribe to our YouTube channel below. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate that.